Howdy, folks. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. We are here. We're going to talk some hockey, some news, some big news in the league, potentially. It was broken by Bob McKenzie this morning about Dustin Byfuglien. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, but we're going to start with our little overrated, underrated game, our little music game. And we've covered, the biggies.
Not yet. We haven't done a few of my favorites.
Well, no, and we will get to them. I think this is something we can just keep doing. But the Beatles, the Stones, Led Zeppelin. There's one other that I can't. Oh, the Who.
Yeah.
Today is Queen, who one of my personal favorite bands. But every band has songs that I think everybody does. Not everybody likes them.
One thing about Queen that I'll say.
Okay.
I probably didn't appreciate them enough while they were hot. Let's say.
Mm-hmm.
I lived through the era. I was into a more harder rock at the time, but then when I was at Live Aid and really appreciated them, it was almost getting too late, right? But I lived through. I knew their songs and I would sing along for sure, but I didn't appreciate them enough in the early on. I admit that.
Whereas, and this is the thing, it's like, it's sort of revisionist history now, even after the movie Bohemian Rhapsody. It was, and I still believe that's one of the best live performances ever.
It is
at Wembley.
I was watching it, live on simulcast, and I got to tell you, I'm watching it at like 6, 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I was still jacked up. Moving.
The whole thing is great, but if you've seen the movie, the performance of Radio Gaga, which is not one of their big hits, it's a song I liked, but it wasn't one of their big hits.
No, it's not a big hit.
And the crowd reaction of, I've from a friend of mine who's also a big Queen fan, and I'm sure that they weren't going for this reaction, and people probably will be a little disturbed at the reference I'm making, but it was like Hitler at Nuremberg. It was, what I'm saying, where you had everybody
putting a crowd into a frenzy. That's all you have to say, Mike.
Right, but being history majors, we had to go there. I'm not making any kind of over.
If people in England ever got whipped into a frenzy, you could say Churchill, but they never do.
Yeah, that doesn't match it. But anyway, they're a great band. I liked them all. Like one of the first. I was like 7 or 8 years old. One of the first singles I ever bought. I bought 45s back then.
I never bought 45s. I want to tell you right now, that is completely pedestrian, buying 45s. It was such a waste of my time.
I know, but granted, I wasn't paying for them. My dad or my brother was paying for them, so I was 7 years old.
The only thing that was good were the unreleased stuff on the B side. That's the only thing that mattered on a 45.
But I bought Killer Queen as a 45, and it was a really great song. But there is a rather it's on their greatest hits album. There's a rather famous song of theirs that I don't understand why it's so popular, and every time I hear it on the radio or see it performed like on say YouTube or whatever, I just say and that's Fat Bottom Girls. I don't like the song. I just don't care.
I like it.
Yeah, to me it's their most overrated song. I don't think it's that good.
I think it was made more for the people of England. I think they appreciate it more.
Yeah,
I think that's the issue with that song with you. You know what I mean? I don't think it was made for Americans to appreciate. Yeah. I think that's one that the English appreciate better.
And plus, if we're gonna talk about the personal things,
no, we're not going to talk about that. I'm steering far away from that.
Yes, no, I don't appreciate that particular part of the female anatomy. So
you couldn't stay away from it.
No, I can't. I'm sorry. Now, what is your most overrated?
You're My Best Friend. That could have been written in 10 minutes. And here's the thing about having the best friend. I never wanted to sing that to my best friend, even if it was a guy or a girl. Mine happens to be a guy, but I had some girls that I'm very close friends with too. I've never wanted to sing that to them. I don't need to say it to them. I don't need to put it down in words. Sorry.
Okay. I have a tie for my two most underrated. One is You Take My Breath Away. Which
I would do one, and then let me speak, and then you could do your other one.
Well, okay, first, my first tie is You Take My Breath Away from, I believe it's Night of the Opera. No, Day of the Races. Day of the Races. And it's, it's a ballad. It's a Freddie Mercury ballad, but with a nice little guitar part at the end with Brian May. But it's just, I mean, again, the Freddie Mercury vocal range is fantastic, and it's just it's a song about being in love.
Yeah,
but it's great. It's just a phenomenal song. Okay, give me your first.
Mr. Fahrenheit.
Okay.
I think that is completely underrated. I would take that over a lot of other Queen songs. I think it highlights Mercury a lot. I think it highlights Brian May a lot. I think it's one of those songs that is just very catchy, And
one of my favorite Queen songs, which ironically is not sung by Freddie Mercury, is Sail Away Sweet Sister. Which is on the Game. It's sung by Brian May.
Okay.
And it's one of those songs, and you can take this for almost any band. I'm sure anybody who loves music has a band that they love, and there's a song that they love from that band that you wish wouldn't end. Like it fades out, and you wish there was like another 2 minutes of the song. Just this is a song where it has this little bass solo at the end where John Deacon plays, and you just want it to go on and hear more of it. Yeah, go ahead.
I could give you that song from my favorite band, Yes.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that song is Wondrous Stories.
Okay. Yeah.
Really short, and for them, it's very short. But like even when Anderson does it, he elongates it a little bit.
Right.
It's one of those that's just beautiful, and you wish it would kind of keep going.
Yeah. So I mean, one of my favorite bands, and I'm in the chat. I'm sure there's a few people. I haven't looked at the chat yet. Yeah, a couple.
I'm sure they're saying no, it's this or no.
Drop the Elbow says Princes of the Universe is great from the Highlander soundtrack. Is that I think that's the one that Who Wants to Live Forever. I think that's the line.
That's a great song.
That's a phenomenal song.
That's a great song that really highlights Mercury. I hate, and I mean hate, the Flash Gordon song. And everything about that movie and that Queen soundtrack was everything I didn't like about Queen growing up.
Yeah, but that was when they were in their slump. They
didn't get them out of it.
Yeah, they did. If you followed them before Live Aid, but I think it was between like 79 and 85. They did 3 movie soundtracks. One was Highlander, which was not a great movie, but it had Sean Connery in it. I liked it. Had some good songs. Then the other one was Flash Gordon, which I hated. I hated that. Sam L. Jones.
Sam Jones still tries to live off that movie now.
Oh my God.
The only thing I have to say, the funny thing about Flash Gordon is the only reason I went to see it is because it was a very popular comic strip when my dad was around as a kid. He's still around, but when he was a kid, and so I basically wanted to see what all the hubbub was about. And I went, and because like Ming the Merciless was in that, it was a pretty cool, story, but they ruined it.
Yeah, the low light of Max von Sydow's acting career was playing Ming.
And he's a great actor. Oh my God,
phenomenal actor. And the third one was the movie Iron Eagle, which is a bad Top Gun ripoff with Louis Gossett Jr. and Jason Gedrick, who couldn't act his way out of a paper bag.
I didn't like the way Jason Gedrick looked.
Oh my God! But the song was good. It was called One Vision. Not bad. But it was not bad. But then they made their comeback after
Iron Eagle was an awful
movie. It was so bad. It was like basically a 16-year-old kid was going to rescue his father, who was captured by Muammar Gaddafi in Libya.
Yeah,
and it was him by himself flying an F-16. Yeah, okay. Can we suspend disbelief here a little bit?
I watched the Top Gun reboot over that, and that's got to be horrible.
I'm actually anxious to see that. I want to see that because I want to see how bad it is. Anyway, all right, let's start the show. No more Nuremberg references, I promise.
Yeah, please. You've done it like twice in the history of the show.
Twice? Okay.
Yes.
Hello, Hockey World. Today is Wednesday, September 18th, 2019.
I'm Russ Cohen, and for all you know, I could be the Jets' number 2 quarterback.
And I'm Michael Lagello, and I reject that offer. And this is the HockeyBuzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. I'm a lefty, so they don't want lefty quarterbacks.
No, lefty quarterbacks are tough.
Yes.
Stabler was a lefty, wasn't he?
Who was?
Stabler.
Yes, Stabler and Boomer Esiason.
Yeah, Boomer. Yeah, I mean, if you're a good lefty, it's really good, but a lefty quarterback is tough.
Yes. All right. The big news dropped this morning, and I found out on my way somewhere this morning. I was listening to TSN radio in Toronto, and Bob McKenzie was making an appearance, and I didn't expect any kind of big news coming out, although you should expect it out of Bob.
Yeah.
And he reported that the leave of absence that Dustin Byfuglien is currently on may be permanent, that he is pondering his NHL future. Now, Byfuglien is 34 years old. He's got this year and next year on a contract making $7.6 million. That's a lot to give up, but according to he's made a lot of money, and according to McKenzie, he's contemplating his options, and there's no timetable. Now, Rick Ralph, who covers the Jets for TSN, said he has been told that Byfuglien has lost his love for the game. It's a tough decision for him, and he was on the ice with the team before training camp, but he didn't skate in the Beauty League this summer.
Right.
So really, he hasn't skated since they got eliminated in the first round against St. Louis. Now, Russ, this would be a monstrous blow for the Jets because not only if they lose Byfuglien, they lose probably their top defenseman, but this comes on the heels of them trading Trouba to the Rangers and allowing Tyler Myers to go to Vancouver in unrestricted free agency. Had they known that Byfuglien was contemplating retirement, maybe they would have signed Myers. They probably would have still traded Trouba. But, I mean, they're losing – if he retires, they're losing the entire right side of their blue line.
Okay, so a few things. Between Peter and I, we got pretty close yesterday figuring out what this might be. We really did, because Peter was talking about the retirement thing, and I was talking about he's not the greatest off-season training guy.
Right.
And he mentioned the Beauty League. Like, we really did have the undertones of it. I do want to mention that because we were just sort of fishing, right?
Right.
But also, we know the player. My favorite Dustin Byfuglien story had nothing to do with his playing, right? So one of the drafts, I want to say it's probably going 5 years back.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing something with Panini trading cards, and so I got an exclusive with him. And I'm there with Doug Cataldo, the guy who I do sportsology with, and a lot of other things, and very good friend. And I'm interviewing him, on video, and I remember asking him about being traded. And I remember Doug looking at me like, "Are you crazy? This guy is like 6'4", 260 pounds. Why are you trying to piss him off?" That's the look that I saw in his eyes, right?
He could eat you.
Yeah. And he was completely calm about it, gave a great answer. He was great with the fans. Like, this guy is a great guy. And I think he, sometimes you never know when it's just time to hang it up. And maybe he's got some aches and pains. He never talks about it. The one thing you got to give Byfuglien credit for is he never, ever, ever talked about being injured. You never heard him really complaining much. The only thing I could say here is, and he did complain a little, trust me, but not like
right
about like, him getting hurt on the ice or about other teammates. Not that. It was always just about a little bit about Winnipeg and maybe, some other things like that. But the other thing is, if you remember, for the last couple of years, I was saying Winnipeg should trade him.
Right.
And had they done that, they would have at least gotten the assets for him. So not only will they lose the player here, but they lose any hope of trading him.
Right.
And that's where it's really going to hurt them, because they do have some defensemen, guys like Sammy Nico and stuff will fill in, but they're missing a lot now. And They couldn't have kept Trouba. Trouba did not want to stay there. So
but Myers, they could have re-signed.
Myers, they could have re-signed over Peter's dead body, but they could have done it. And now in retrospect, they probably wish they did.
Right.
I don't think they're going to go out and make an immediate trade because everybody knows they'll get fleeced on that if they do.
Well, okay, we'll go there because Pierre LeBrun said, and he said basically what everybody was thinking. If this is true, first of all, it opens up $7.6 million in cap space.
Right.
That will help in terms of getting Laine re-signed or Connor re-signed, open up the room. They have room, but they just
better get them signed now because they're going to need more offense than they've ever had before.
Right. But the thing is, though, and the two names that LeBrun mentioned were Justin Falk, who's got a year left in his contract, and Rasmus Ristolainen, who's 3 years left, both making Ristolainen's making a little over 5, Falk's making a little under 5. There has been rumors about Ristolainen in Winnipeg going back a little ways. Byfuglien retiring would open up the cap space. It also would make Winnipeg desperate enough to maybe include a player like Nick Ehlers, which if the Sabres are looking for top 6 forwards in exchange for Ristolainen, I'm assuming that they haven't traded him yet because they're not getting that. I think Winnipeg would maybe not Ehlers, maybe Roslovic, maybe somebody like that. But I think that if they face the potential of not having, they're already not going to have Myers, they're not going to have Trouba. If Byfuglien retires, I think they would give up a forward for Ristolainen.
I don't think they'll do it right now. They do have Logan Stanley. They have Sami Niku. They're going to give those guys a shot next year or even at the end of the season. Depending on Minnesota Duluth's run, which they've been winning back-to-back titles, they're probably going to go for another one. Not probably. They'll be in the hunt for another one. After that, Dylan Sandberg will be fast-tracked too. So this is going to be the thing about it for this year. So I think this year, if I'm them, I'm starting with the guys I have, and I'm seeing what that does.
Sure.
If it's not good enough, then I can go out and do something like that.
Yeah.
And even bail out a team that's looking to deal somebody like a Justin Falk, but right now, let me wait and just see because it's not a good time.
Yeah, you're not going to reflexively do it,
right?
I mean that would be dumb, and Cheveldayoff is not a dumb general manager. But I think if the fact that Falk has been out there for a couple weeks after probably even longer because the contract negotiations with him did not go well over the summer. Ristolainen has been on the market since the draft. I think the Sabres would like to move him, but they're not going to give him away. So these are opportunities, and maybe it's a situation where we know very well how the NHL trade market works, that, it'll be U.S. Thanksgiving before the general managers take a look at their team and say, okay, I need to address this. And in the Central Division, if you're showing any chink in your armor, you can't allow that to stay there for the entire season. So maybe he holds off early on, but if Byfuglien retires, or if his status is uncertain, the one thing I don't know is if he's on a leave of absence, does his money count against the cap? Is he on some reserve list or something like that?
I think it does until they can move him to that.
Right. So it might be the beginning of the season. It might take until like October 3rd or 4th until they play a game.
Right.
That's how LTIR works.
So here's an issue. What if the Rangers' negotiation here with D'Angelo doesn't get better because Larry Brooks says the Rangers offered him $925 and he wants more? Maybe that never comes to fruition. That's a good option for Winnipeg to bring in a guy like that. I don't have to trade for Falk. I can give this kid a little more money. I sign him to a 1 or 2 year deal. Problem solved for the moment. You could see that happen if the Rangers get to an impasse with D'Angelo and it doesn't happen. And
another one is Honka.
Yes.
And
I would put D'Angelo over Honka just to make that clear.
Well, but the one thing is that how anxious would Dallas be to trade somebody to help a team in their own division?
That's another issue. Yeah.
And I can't remember who reported it yesterday, but there was a report that the Canadians were interested in Honka, but the Stars are looking for a draft pick in exchange, and Montreal wants to dump a salary, wants to trade an existing contract, and Dallas doesn't want to take one. So, maybe Winnipeg could get him for a draft pick. But, I mean, needless to say, anybody that you find to replace him is not going to be Byfuglien. It's not going to be a minutes eating 30-minute a night defenseman. And maybe he's not that guy anymore. Remember, he struggled with injuries last year. I think he was out until like about a couple weeks before the end of the regular season. So he was struggling through
and probably playing into it. There does become a point where you say, yeah, I'm going to get ready for the season. And you're just not doing it. Not with the same fervor you did before.
Now, sort of tied to Winnipeg, and we tried to get Peter on, but he was really busy today. We'll get his thoughts on this, later in the week. But the comments of Patrik Laine, and I just saw sort of an encapsulation of this. He's over in Switzerland right now, and he was apparently mentioned something about if he was not on the Winnipeg Jets, that he would be playing with that team's top players, and he's sort of been in a second line role with the Jets. Well, I mean, from what I remember Peter talking about, in instances where they had put Laine with like Wheeler, it didn't work. I think what he said was there's one puck, and Wheeler wants it, or the other players on that line, or Scheifele wants it. You're also putting all your eggs in one basket. You cannot put all your, that was the problem with Colorado last year. You had Rantanen, you had Landeskog, you had McKinnon, and after that you had nothing else. So if that line is shut down, or if that line is limited, then you're screwed. And that was probably Paul Maurice's thought. But Laine is bringing that up, and that can't exactly make things feel wonderful with Jets players, that he's complaining about his role with the team.
I think the players take that with a grain of salt, but if I'm Kevin Cheveldayoff in negotiations, I say, Patrik, I get it. You had 50 points last year. Is that really top line numbers? Prove it to me that you're a top liner. Get back to where you were a year ago. I'm happy to play on the top line. But if you have a year like last year, I can't guarantee it.
Yeah, and that's the problem here. Laine did not do himself any favors last year with, his total was over 30 goals, but he scored over half of his goals.
Actually, it was 30 even.
Was it 30 even? He scored 17 goals in a month, and then he scored 13 goals for the rest of the regular season.
He stuck in the playoffs. He had 4 points in 6 games. That's not good.
Actually, the funny thing was, because I had picked him in my pool, he actually played pretty decently in the first few games. So I can't.
He tailed off. That's my point.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you need your big goal scorers to come up to the forefront in the playoffs. So
I'm not saying he has to be a goal a game, but if he's not going to be an assist guy, 3 goals in 6 games, I need more.
Now, in other news, we'll get a few things, and we'll talk a couple team previews here. We'll preview the Detroit Red Wings and the Dallas Stars. We've heard from the Mikko Rantanen camp, Mike Liut, his agent. Liut was on Sportsnet 650, which I believe is the Vancouver affiliate.
Yeah.
And he stated that he believes his client is comparable to Mitch Marner. Now, this is the problem, and this is the sort of echo or the domino effect from the Marner contract. Do I think Rantanen is the equal of Marner? In some ways, I think he's a better forward than Marner. He's bigger.
Yeah.
I think he's a better goal scorer. I think Marner is a much better playmaker. But Rantanen has got, they're different. They're different types of players, but I think for, some teams would rather have Rantanen and some teams would rather have Marner. They're comparable. Marner's now making almost $11 million. Rantanen wants to make around that. Problem is that Nathan McKinnon is making 6.3, Landeskog is making less than 6, and Sakic wants to preserve his payroll the way it is. I don't think he's going to be able to, Russ. Now, the only way he's going to be able to is if he signs Rantanen to a bridge, And if and it would probably have to be a bridge closer, a little over what Besser is making, because I think his resume is a lot better than Besser. So you're talking $6.5 to $7 million on a 3-year bridge, and that's more than McKinnon on a bridge. So where can Sakic go here?
The last 2 years, he had a 1.04 points per game and a 1.18, which I think at 1.18, that's higher than Marner. I'm pretty sure. So 31 goals, 87 points in 74 games. It's a hell of a year. If you remember, in 2016-17, I was talking about him saying he maybe got the quietest 20 goals in hockey because he was on a lousy team. Mm-hmm. So he is a big catalyst on this team. I look at him and I say, there's even more upside here. Can you imagine he did all of this and he's never even taken 200 shots in a season?
Yeah.
His shooting percentage, get this, 15, 16-3, 16-1. That's like Malkin territory, man. That's incredible. It's better than Malkin.
Yeah. Now, Bardicus brings this up in the chat. The issue with that payroll argument is the variance is so ridiculous from a comparative performance, and that is the problem right now. Is general managers agents are looking at the individual team,
right?
Teams are looking at comparables to other players. If you use comparables with Marner, and I said this before he signed this contract, he's not better than Patrick Kane. He's not better than Nikita Kucherov.
Right.
Is he better than Mark Stone? You could debate. Mark Stone is making 9.5. Kane's making 10.5. Kucherov's making 9.5. And the only one who's making more than Marner now is Panarin. And that was because he was a unrestricted free agent. And this is not slamming Marner. But the market was Austin Matthews making 11.6 and Tavares making 11, and he's looking to make as much as those because he led the Leafs in scoring for 2 years. Rantanen is on par with McKinnon and Landeskog. I think McKinnon finished with more points last year, but he's, and somebody made the argument, Rantanen wouldn't get as many points if he wasn't for McKinnon. Well, you could say that McKinnon wouldn't get as many points without Rantanen.
Yeah.
You don't really know, but he's asking to make what is fair market value now for a top winger, and Sakic is battling to keep him within constraints of their own cap, and that's going to be the battle. And eventually, I think it's there's going to have to be a compromise. But in the end, I think on a bridge or on a long-term deal, he's going to make more than McKinnon. He's going to make more than anybody on that team.
Yeah, I mean, he did. Marner was 1.15 points per game, so he's better than Marner. Will that happen every year? It could, based on the guys they have. And Landeskog certainly got a shot in the arm back, last year. The reason I brought up Malkin is because if you watched the show a couple days ago, I was talking about his shooting percentage being so great. I understand they're different positions. I get it.
Sure.
But the shooting percentage on Rantanen is probably amongst the top 5 players in the league. Because imagine if he took 250 shots, but he probably can't because of McKinnon. So it's amazing production. I think they're going to have to give him 11/5 and just do it and get him in there. That's what I think they're going to have to do. I don't think there's any way around it.
No, and the only way they limit the damage is if they go, like I said, if they go with bridge, if they go 2-year or 3-year, and maybe he doesn't want that. Maybe
I don't think he wants that. I'm going to get
right. And I don't know. See, 5 times 11 is Matthews.
Right.
I mean, 11.
You could argue at least point-wise, he's better than Matthews.
Well,
you can't make it. I mean, it's true.
No, I'm not disputing it. I'm just saying I
know where you're going to get at in the argument. We're just talking about scoring here.
Yeah, Sakic is in a tough position because he's trying to hold the line, but in the end, I don't know if he's going to be able to.
He just needs to walk up to McKinnon and say, "Listen, this is what I'm thinking about. How does that affect you personally?" Yeah. And McKinnon is the guy that I think he is. He's going to say, "Do it, get him in here."
Okay, couple signings this morning. One, we've heard Ben Hutton's name after he got bought out he did not get qualified by Vancouver,
which is maybe worse.
Which is probably worse. Yeah, it would. Well, and the qualifying offer would have been, I think, close to 3. I think it was like
this is when you just walk away from a player, right?
Right, basically.
Yeah.
And the LA Kings have signed Hutton to a 1-year deal at $1.5 million. So
let me tell you how smart the Kings are, though. Seriously, when you start looking at them and defensemen and the way they're able to resurrect defensemen and also get the most out of them, we always use Forbert as an example because people just gave up on him and they made him a useful defenseman. They are one of the best teams in the league at developing defensemen. You look at it, it's because you look at some of the names are not superstars, but they get the most out of these guys. So you know what? They'll probably get something out of Hutton.
And there's opportunity there because
yes,
I mean they traded Muzzin. It's Doughty, Martinez, Forbert, Paul Ledoux. I think Hutton probably fits in on the bottom pairing. Just a training camp. You got guys, Sean Walker, Joakim Ryan, former San Jose Shark.
I like Joakim Ryan.
Yeah, Matt Roy, Curtis McDermott. So, I mean, there's not, right now there's not anybody.
Is Cale Craig playing in preseason?
He is playing in preseason, and maybe he makes the team.
He could make the team, too.
Yeah. So, but I think, he doesn't sign there unless, not that they guaranteed him a job, but I think he probably looked at
the opportunities there for him, too.
Right. Yeah, they looked at the roster and says, I have an opportunity here.
Hutton is sort of like the guy, in case Clegg isn't ready, we've got other guys we could plug in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, Edmonton, and I don't know much about this player, but I saw the signing. Edmonton signed Anton Berdashov to a PTO. Again, this is a sign here where Edmonton is desperate for forwards.
I mean, completely desperate. I'll tell you what I know. I remember reaching out to my contact a while back and watching a little video, and he's a pretty good goal scorer. He's not a great goal scorer. He's pretty good. He had 19 last year. Has some skill, has some speed, has size. He's 6'3", also has a nasty side. So what does that tell you? Are they trying to get him to fill the Lucic, Maroon kind of role? Yeah, that's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, but
at a much cheaper level.
Yeah, I mean,
Maroon came really cheap this year, but
yeah, but I mean, but you look at the Oilers, and it's McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, and then you're talking James Neal, Sam Gagner, Alex Chiasson, Zach Kassian. It's not exactly the 27 Yankees.
No, and he's 28, and it's hard to break in this league at 28. Remember, Medvedev came over with the Flyers.
Right.
Very celebrated player. I want to say he was right around that age, and it didn't work out for him. He looked okay on the ice, but over the course of a season, it just didn't work out. This is a prayer. It's a shot in the dark. He's got a 50% chance. That's really what it boils down.
And Ken Holland is doing patchwork, bringing in Riley Sheehan at 1 year, $900,000.
Sheehan's good. Sheehan was a good.
Right. But it's a patchwork signing. I mean, he's, Thomas Yurko, who's been all over the place.
Yurko, obviously, he had him in Detroit, so he knows what he is.
He's buying time for, Kaylor Yamamoto, maybe for the situation with the Puliar,
Tyler Benson,
or maybe he's not sold on these guys and he's just trying to, patch things up. But this, again, these are the moves that are consistent with a team that is not a serious. I mean, they really didn't make any big moves over the summer.
Again, they're just not going to come out and say it because of the market they're in, but it's an uphill battle for them this season.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure McDavid's even played yet, right?
I don't think so.
Right. I think we would have heard that.
Yeah.
So that's another issue. He's coming back off a knee surgery, right? So
yeah, do yourself a favor, Edmonton. If there's any question, sit him out the first month. He is your franchise. You're not making the playoffs this year.
Right.
His health is the most important thing.
It is.
Sacrifice time to make sure he's 100%, because if that guy is chronically injured, your future is toast. So,
No question about it.
yeah. Now, just to touch on this, because I watched the game last night, the Leafs and Ottawa played.
I watched some of that game too.
Yeah, the first of back-to-back games. Ottawa they play tonight in Canada. I know that some people were making. I know that you made a sarcastic comment about Mitch Marner and that.
Well, that giveaway was awful.
That was a bad giveaway. And hey, this is what preseasons are for.
Correct.
You know, to make those mistakes when it doesn't count. Now, I have a problem, and I guess this is his MO, and we should just get used to it. With Mike Babcock, the organization brings in Jason Spezza. Jason Spezza should be and probably will be the fourth line center, but we're getting this happy horse crap from Babcock about, well, Jason's got to prove that he can do the fourth line job, or like all this, like he's the doubting Thomas right now.
Right.
And Freddie Gauthier, who he's a good kid, but he's not a good hockey player. He's a big kid who can't really. His skating has improved markedly from when he was a draft pick in 2013. He's still not fast. He cannot score. He had a breakaway and a couple.
Defensively, though, he is.
He's good, and he's not bad on faceoffs.
Right.
But with the players that they have brought in free agency. In terms of, like Pontus Aberg and Kenny Agostino, and probably that they're not going to carry extra bodies. Freddie Gauthier should not be on this team when it comes to the end of the exhibition schedule. If they're carrying 20 or 21, the extra forward should not be Freddie Gauthier. And the way Babcock is talking, it's like, the GOAT, the GOAT's this, the GOAT's that. No, the GOAT's not a good player. But but we know coaches play favorites. I used the example a couple days ago, or actually when we were talking on the phone, I think, of Tortorella and Stu Bickle.
Right.
Like Stu Bickle wasn't the best, player. It wasn't even close.
He was a defenseman that he made forward, right? I mean, I think that's what it was, or was it the opposite? I think it was.
No, he was a defenseman. They made a forward. He put him on the wing. And if you're looking for size on the wing for the Leafs on the fourth line, a kid like Mason Marchment, who can skate, who has a ability to get underneath the skin of the opposition, he should, and he played pretty good yesterday. He should be the guy that they go for in terms of a fourth line winger. And if they put, there's talk, I can't remember who it was this morning, was talking about moving Gauthier to the wing. I've seen him play on the wing a couple times. He's terrible on the wing. It's like, I don't understand the mythology or the mentality, excuse me, of coaches when it comes to playing players that are clearly not that good and continuing to play. It's the Martin Marincin thing with Babcock. It's the, not to say that Ron Hainsey wasn't good, but Ron Hainsey wasn't a 23-minute defenseman, and he's putting him on the top pairing. There is a mental block when it comes to certain players and certain coaches.
Right. No question. I look at the situation from what I saw out of Spezza. He's fine. You don't worry about Jason Spezza. This is not even going to be a question. If Spezza has some giveaways, he'll throw Gauthier in there, but it's Spezza's job. Let's be real. Yeah.
And I think the only thing they might be worried about is if they put Gauthier in waivers that somebody might claim him. I don't worry. It's not happening.
He could just sit in the box all year, whatever. They've done that too.
Well, yeah, but with their roster situation with
that's right. Yeah, they've got
money. I think they're going to carry 20 to 21 players. I think they're not going to carry 23. And if they do that, they're going to be shuttling. Once they go on waivers, and this is the thing Leaf fans have to remember, if these players go on waivers and they recall them, they have 10, I think it's 10 games or 30 days. That's where they're waiver exempt. So they can keep shuttling them back and forth and back and forth once they clear waivers at the end of the exhibition schedule.
So what I saw, and I watched, I think, 2 periods, Rocco looked good.
Yep.
Kapanen looked good.
Schmaltz looked good.
Schmaltz looks really good. I mean, again, if you just want him to be a good skating, puck-moving, mobile defenseman, he could do that.
Yeah.
And so I had no doubt in Jordan Schmaltz's ability for that. I've seen him enough to know that. Also, Marcus Hogberg did good. I mean, he didn't have a great year last year, but he's only 24, and you never know with goalies when they're going to develop. he faced some high pressure stuff, right? And he did pretty well.
Yeah, and Max Lajoie looked pretty good for Ottawa.
He had a good year last year too, so that's an encouraging sign for the Sens. Look, the Sens have some players, they do, and they're going to win games. But what's going to happen is second half of the season they're going to lose close games no matter what. When teams really ramp it up, they will lose close games. But they'll give they're a team that they're not a walkover. They're not a complete walkover team. They're not.
Yeah, I'll answer this question now. We'll do our team previews and then we'll take some questions after that. But Julian asks, so you say Gauthier in the AHL? What about Justin Hall? They're not. I don't think they're worried about Justin Hall. If he gets claimed, he gets claimed. They sat him in the press box all year because they feared he would get claimed. He's 27 years old. He's a UFA at the end of the year. They've got guys like Gravel and Harper and Marinson. If he gets claimed, he gets claimed. I don't think that they're gonna shield him like they did last year. So, and he didn't play very well yesterday, and neither did Marinson. So,
as they say in Montreal, c'est la vie, man.
Yes. Who's saying the song for C'est La Vie? Was it Robbie Neville?
No, it was ELP.
No. There's another C'est La Vie.
Oh, but the Greg Lake one's great.
Yes, it is. All right. Okay. Team previews. Detroit Red Wings. The Red Wings finished 32-40-10 last year under Jeff Blashill. They bring him back. A new general manager in Steve Yzerman replacing Ken Holland. Now, they did not bring back Vanek. They did not bring back Kronwall. He retired. If you look at what they did in the summer, this is a team that I think is aiming for the tank. I'm not saying they're purposely going to lose, but they added Filppula, they added Patrick Nemeth, and they added Jonathan Bernier did they have Bernier? They didn't have Bernier last year, did they?
Yeah, I think they did.
No, yeah, they did. They signed Bernier to a 3. Oh, they signed Calvin. They signed Calvin Pickard. That's what they did.
Yeah.
They signed Bernier to a 3-year deal.
Right.
Yeah, but they really didn't make many moves in the summer, and with a team that is so. I mean, they have a lot of holes. I mean, I think what Yzerman is doing here is he's looking at this team and saying, okay, I'm not going to win in my first year. I've got cachet because I'm Steve Yzerman. I'm the Hall of Famer. I've had success in Tampa Bay. He's got 3 UFA defensemen in Green, Erickson, and Daly. At the end of the year, maybe he can sell off as rentals. He's got some forwards that I think they probably would love to move out, a Nielsen or an Abdulkader or Helm or Glendening. So this is a team in transition, Russ, and I think where this team is going to make strides is when Zadina and Veleno and their young players play and get experience. How well will they play?
I mean, there's not a lot there. I think Zadina could have a nice season. Nobody's carrying this team through it, though. They don't have the goaltending to do it. They just don't have the horses to do it. When you see in preseason they're playing guys like Matt Pumple, they're looking to fill holes this year. That's what they're looking to do. They're looking to just have an NHL season, give the fans something to watch, but they're going to be in the Alexis Lafreniere sweepstakes. I'm sure Yzerman wants to be in it, and I'm sure that's the unofficial plan. Yzerman said it could take 5 years. He set the bar low. He did that on purpose because he looked at everything and knew there's things that had to change around here. There's salaries he had to lose. There's players that had to drop off, and it's starting to happen, and they need to happen again after this season. But there's a lot not going on there. I mean, they don't really have what I would call their franchise goalie yet. They don't have that.
Right. They don't, and he's not even in the system yet.
No.
Now,
goalies, and they're okay. I don't think they have that guy yet.
Now, maybe, and I don't know the name, but I heard Bob McKenzie talking a little bit about who the top 5 in the upcoming draft are. And we'll educate ourselves on who those players are. But I know if they don't get Lafreniere, that there is a Russian goaltender who is apparently projected to be in the top 5 or top 10. Maybe that's we know that Yzerman went down that road with Vasilevsky in Tampa Bay. If this goaltender
Yzerman will do that.
I mean, well, maybe not. I mean, I'm just saying if they have a top 2 or 3 pick, then they probably don't waste it. And I'm not saying waste, but I'm saying they don't spend it on a goaltender. But I'm sure they're going to be looking for that developmental goalie, and that's going to take 2 or 3 years.
I mean, right now, I would still say Petruzzi is probably their guy. He's out of Quinnipiac. He had a pretty good year last year, 14 games, .904 save percentage. I saw him play. He's a little bit of a work in progress only because of his size. It does take a while for all those things. Ben Bishop was not an instant hit in college either.
Sure.
So he still could be their guy.
Okay. Yeah. Now Dallas is on a different path altogether. They got to the second round of the playoffs. They forced this eventual Stanley Cup champion to Game 7 overtime. Ben Bishop was one of the finalists for the Vezina and played great last year because he stayed healthy relatively. The Stars went out in free agency this year, signed Pavelski to replace Spezza, who is coming to the end of it. I think he's got a year or so left in his career, but they were paying him over $7 million, and he wasn't that player anymore. So they signed Pavelski. They bring in Corey Perry, who's hurt, but it's not a long-term injury, so he's probably going to be back early in the regular season. And they've locked up. They have that defense, Russ, which I think is the key for them, with Heiskanen, with Klingberg, with Lindell. I mean, they have a really good young core defenseman, and this team is going places.
They are. I watched their game last night.
Please choose from the following options.
Sorry.
Was that Alexa?
I know, but it's like I had the sound off, and then something came through on the phone, and then I hit speaker, and it's a whole mess. Anyhow, it's because my wife is also texting me at the same time, right?
Okay.
But Ty Dellandrea,
I don't have that problem, Russ.
No, Ty Dellandrea looked good last night. He had some scoring chances. He's skating really well. I kind of wonder if they're going to want him to make this team. He's a high draft pick for him, so there's some hope there. It looks like Gurianov is going to make the starting roster. That's good news for him because he has a lot of speed and a lot of skill, and I think he could have a breakthrough year. So, yeah, they have those guys. Lindell is a guy. Like, I go back and tell you a story where I had him as the defenseman, and I had him picked a little higher that the Rangers should have picked. But instead he fell to Dallas. That year after they picked him, I'm in MSG. One of their scouts is there, Dallas's, Mark Leach. And I said hi to him. I introduced myself to him, and we start talking. And I start talking about Esa Lindell, and he goes, "How do you know Esa Lindell?"
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, because, I follow the draft, and I noticed him right away, and Esa Lindell has turned into a hell of a player.
I remember you talking about Esa Lindell to somebody from the Dallas Stars on Hockey Prospect Radio, and I almost got the impression that he thought the same thing. Like, how do you know about Esa Lindell?
Yeah, that was probably with Dennis Hull, right? I mean, it
might have been.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. But I'm a fan. He blocks shots. He has offense. But I was watching Heiskanen, and I'm telling you right now, he's a top 5 defenseman in this league. Top 5.
Now, just going back, because
you have no retort for that?
No, I agree. That's why I didn't respond.
Okay. Amazing. Think about that, though. Like, that's something where last year I still think that flew under the radar for half a season.
Yeah. No. I mean, and he's what, 19?
Yeah.
I mean, he was still eligible for the World Junior last year.
Yeah.
So
I think they said last night Pavelski is going to play with Gurianov, and I forget who the other one was going to be on that line. Maybe it was Dickinson. I can't remember. So they have an interesting blend of speed, skill, some bigger players, some good goaltending. If Bishop's healthy, this is a playoff team that can make some noise. If he's not, then it's like any other team. They're going to struggle.
Well, a guy that our friend Frank, goalie FP in the chat, mentions that impressed me a couple years ago when he played for Texas in the Calder Cup final was Rupe Hintz. And he played well in the playoffs last year. He played well in the regular season for them. He's a big, talented forward. And really, I mean, you could see where he is going is probably where they thought Nikushkin was going to go, and didn't because of injuries and whatever. But he's a talent.
Rupe Hintz does positive things every shift, right? So either you notice him sort of banging bodies, or you notice him controlling the puck. He is very good at controlling the puck in the offensive zone.
Right.
He's always making positive gains. Coaches love a guy like Rupe Hintz.
Now we're going to some questions here.
Scary territory.
Yeah, Funky, and this is the thing. Russ, when we were talking about
David, let's just be real.
Yeah. Anybody
could ask a question, and you will go to him first every time.
Yeah, well, I'm going to him because he's talking about a player that you picked as a possible Calder Trophy nominee, and that's Heroes.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, the progress he's made in a year, because I remember 2 years ago, he was in the Leafs developmental camp.
Right, but he was going to Michigan State, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
He had a hell of a year last year. Sometimes it clicks for guys in 1 year, like literally one. I will tell you this. I forget who the player was that told me this, but a lot of times going to an elite team like the Leafs, to their camp, these guys learn things, and they carry it with them for their summer training, and they go back to where they play hockey, and they get better. And I forgot who did that with the Flyers, but somebody also said it was very important for their development with the Flyers, and it really is true. Like, if these guys do that, like last year, Heroes had 50 points in 36 games. Like, that's – and the year before he had 42. But that's proof that he was getting better, and we know about what his debut numbers were, but I throw those out because it's easy to walk into a team like Detroit with no expectations and put points up. End of the day, he's got a great shot, and he's got good wheels, and he's sort of tricky out there. I would start him off the season and see what I got. I really would.
Yeah, playing with Larkin, what do you have to lose?
Nothing.
Okay, let's see here. By the way, Funky says he thinks Heroes will play with Filppula and Athanasiou. So
I'll tell you what, with those guys, Filppula is the ultimate dig it out of the corner kind of guy. He had a real good comeback year last year. I didn't like what I saw in his last year in Philly, but he did really well. And Athanasiou's got elite speed. So that's a good line.
Ken Smith says Flyers defenseman predicament Hag and Moran will likely need to be traded. Would risk putting on waivers. What do you see happening?
No, nobody's going to go on waivers right away. They're going to go to the last minute in camp, and what they might have to do is, let's say they decide, hey, we like Bigra as the 7, and which is a very good possibility. I wrote an exclusive about him the other day. I talked to him about him the other day. I put it on Sportsology. He got a goal last night. Well, an assist. Somebody else deflected it in. I forget who it was. Moran's not ready for this league. Now, can he fill in spots? Sure. You can go out there and let him be physical for some shifts, get into a fight. If you want to do that with Sam Moran, you can, but it's not worth having a roster spot taken up on that. And Hag, here's the interesting thing. He had a good game last night, but this is a different system. And Robert Hag did fit the Hackstall system better. Is Robert Hag a play with pace, Alain Vigneault kind of guy? I don't know. That's why Bigra all of a sudden is a guy that has a chance, because when you looked at him in his draft year, he was a really good mobile defenseman. Even last night, they were like, well, Bigra just kind of shot it on net and it went in. He knows that. That's all you have to do in this league. You don't have to have a big booming shot. So my point is, they may move Hag. I think Moran, they're more than willing to send down, and if someone were to claim him, fine. I don't think the Fletcher crew has any real worry about Moran. But I think if they decide that, hey, they want to keep an extra guy in the press box to start the season, then maybe Bigra gets sent down for a short time. That's possible.
Okay. A couple more quickies here. Esmir asks, how many points do you think Nikita Gusev will get with the Devils this season? It all depends on what line he's on. I mean, if he gets played
playing with Jack Hughes right now.
Right. So I would be conservative and say 45.
It's Hughes, Simmons, Gusev, if they stick with that. If they stick with that, I'm going 60.
Wow. Well, they're hoping to get their money's worth. They did pay $4.5 million for him.
Because if you think about it, like he's fast and highly skilled. If Simmons is going to get in front of the net, he's going to get some assists, and then Jack Hughes is Jack Hughes. He's going to get some assists with Jack Hughes too, and he's going to get some goals too. So Jack Hughes will find him in open spaces. He always does.
Blue shirt Buddha. Are the Rangers any closer to getting D'Angelo signed?
Well, we talked about that just like 10 minutes ago. So in case you weren't here, no. Next question. We talked about him. That's all I can That's all we can say.
Okay, this one, there was a question previous regarding rumors. Barticus was asking if rumors were true of Ottawa offering Marner an offer sheet. No, because Ottawa's cheap. Because Ottawa doesn't have the money. Because Eugene Melnyk is too busy paying a $900,000 gambling debt to a casino in Atlantic City. Or maybe he's not, because I think he's being sued by it.
Yeah.
Barticus said, though, the implication being that Melnyk seems to want to mess with the Leafs. Well, he always likes to jab the Leafs, but
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter. Like, I mean, honestly, he's based in Toronto.
Right. It doesn't matter.
The Ottawa fans hate him that's one of the reasons they hate him, because he's based in Toronto.
Right.
But they also hate him because he's an incompetent owner. So
one more question, and then we gotta go.
Yeah. Okay. That's it. We're good.
That's it.
All right.
Kill the show.
We'll kill the show. Okay, we're killed. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. Hopefully by then my cough is gone. For Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thanks for watching, and remember, without